Welcome back to the next edition, or the second edition of the Broad Podcaster, right here in the Llano Lakes. I'm Jennifer Fierro with Dlugach, the voice of the Llano Yellow Jackets. Now, we're going to stick with our Big 12 media reports. We're going to concentrate specifically on Baylor and on Oklahoma State. Their head coaches addressed the media today, which is Wednesday on the first day of Big 12 Media Days. On Thursday, TCU, Texas, and Texas Tech, along with Oklahoma, will be addressing the media, and we'll do another segment on those schools tomorrow. So, again, we're going to start with Baylor, and your guy, Dave Aranda, the head coach. Give me your impressions, because he was the very first coach to talk to the media today. What did you think?
Well, I think the world of Coach Aranda, and I know that the people in Waco do too, and fabulous season last year, 12-2, Big 12 champions, preventing Oklahoma State from scoring on a sure touchdown. It will be one of the great plays in the history of Baylor, and one of the worst in the history of the Cowboys. And Coach Gundy of Oklahoma State talked a little bit about that today. But it will be difficult for the Bears to repeat. I was surprised to read in the Athlon college football magazine, which has been out forever, predicting Baylor as number one preseason in the Big 12. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but obviously it could happen. But for them to get through the 9-game schedule, is it 9 still?
Yes. 3 non-conference, 9
right.
Big 12 games.
It's hard to keep up with these teams that are coming and going, and you forget that they're still there. But Texas and Oklahoma are still with us, for sure. Sorry, it's not going to be longer. But so you get through that 9 games as being 1 or 2. Then you play in the championship game, which you've got to win. So I just think it's a little early to be predicting Baylor. It's always safe to predict Oklahoma or a comeback season for the Longhorns. Anyway, with all that said, Blake Shapen is the starting quarterback for the Bears, and he came on to rest that number one position late in the season. Had a great game against Oklahoma State, completing his first 17 passes in the championship game, and Baylor won it, as I mentioned, on a last-second defensive play. And then the Bears beat Ole Miss 21-7 in the Sugar Bowl, probably Baylor's biggest win ever in a bowl game, because they have never won a Cotton Bowl. I will say for the Rebels, they lose quarterback Matt Corral early in that game, and that certainly hurt Baylor. But nobody's going to really remember that a year or two down the road. And Corral did get drafted, I believe, 3rd round in the NFL. Certainly wish him well. I've always liked him. I've been an Ole Miss fan since I was a boy. So Shapen is your leader on offense, and Ben Sims, tight end, to a name to remember, Jacob Gall and Connor Galvin, both offensive linemen, and defensive linemen, Siaka Ika, I-K-A, I apologize if I mispronounced the name, linebacker Dylan Doyle. So those are some of the names. Coach Aranda in his 3rd year with Baylor, and so glad to have him, and so glad to have, mentioned earlier, Linda Livingstone, Dr. Livingstone, president of Baylor, coming in after the scandal, which no way to rationalize as a Baylor person at all, but we think she's just a great addition to the campus. And so there are your thoughts. It's early, and we hope that for Baylor people that it's another fine season. If Baylor does not win the conference championship, that's okay.
Well, there are a lot of Big 12 media reporters who agree and picked Baylor as the preseason favorite to repeat as the conference champion this year. Dave Aranda, what I like best about that last play is that he is a defensive coordinator. Mike Gundy is a former quarterback for Oklahoma State, and he comes from the offensive side. I would think that if one play had to come down to winning a championship, I would anticipate that Gundy would have wanted his offense on the field on the last play, and Aranda would have wanted his defense on the field on the last play. So I think both coaches got what they wanted in that scenario. Now, Gundy addressed that particular play, as you said, and the media asked, what was the mood in the locker room after that play? And he said, it's tragic. Everybody felt a tragedy. He said, you walk in as the head coach, you talk to your players, you remind them of the great season they had, you tell them they still have another game to look forward to, but you don't let them keep repeating that play, even though he said you will never forget it. He said he still wakes up in the middle of the night and thinks about that play. And they were, 1 inch away from scoring that touchdown to win it. I mean, it was that close.
I've seen the replay, I don't know how many times, and it's impossible for the Oklahoma State man with the ball not to score. But he was prevented from that by an inch or two by the Baylor defense. One young man got the main credit for it, as he should. But it just was an amazing win for Baylor. I think tragic, just to throw in a little silly point, I think tragic or tragedy is a little strong by Coach Gundy, but certainly awfully hard to take. And don't tell anyone on the Oklahoma State team that they will forget that. They will not. Baylor had a 41-20 lead in the fourth quarter in the Cotton Bowl of 6 or 7 years ago and was beaten by Michigan State 42-21. I'll guarantee you that Baylor will never forget that one.
Well, you had a chance to address the head coach at Media Days months after that loss. And you asked that question. What did the coach tell you? Do you remember?
Yeah, indeed I do. He said, you'll never forget it. He says he thinks about it a lot, Art Briles, and it's just something that will not go away.
Yeah, he was never going to get over it. He said he'd never get over it.
I won't either. And you know, I wanted to tell myself, as maybe you're thinking, oh, it was just a bowl game. But as I mentioned in the first segment of the podcast, it was the Cotton Bowl that Baylor has never won in the Lord knows how many years they've been in the Southwest Conference and the Big 12, the Southwest Conference. Of course, if you won it, you went to the Cotton Bowl. Baylor went a couple of times and was beaten by Penn State and by Alabama. And so here we are again. They were in the Cotton Bowl and they squandered that 3-touchdown lead. And I know what originally I was going to say was that as I watched it, there were like 5 or 6 plays that could have gone Baylor's way that it did not, and it cost them the loss.
The Art Briles Cotton Bowl game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk present day now.
Yes.
You had 2 different extremes with Aranda. Year 1, the Bears win 2 games. Year 2, the Bears win what, 12 games?
12-2.
Okay, so what is the in-between? Because you have 2 wins in year 1, you have 12 wins in year 2. What are the expectations for the Bears in year 3?
Well, it would be fine with me, as I've mentioned to my son-in-law, who's as big a Texas fan as this podcaster is, that if they went 10-3, in other words, I don't want to be greedy. I think 10-3 and a bowl win would be fine. Now, you could say, I wish they'd win the Big 12 again. I just think that'll be awfully difficult, and I'm going to be satisfied with a bit less.
Well, in your scenario, it's 9 wins in the regular season with 2 losses in the regular season.
No, 3.
Okay, 3 losses in the regular season, and the 10th win is the bowl win?
Right.
Okay. Does that include the Big 12 championship?
Well, if that happens, that's fine too, to come finish first and second. I'm just saying that as a Baylor fan, I don't want to be greedy about a second consecutive Big 12 championship. Baylor has won championships in the past in the Big 12, a couple. So I've been real happy with everything except, of course, the scandal, which is more serious than football victories, as you know.
Sure. Baylor, I believe, won more one-score games, meaning 3 points or less, a touchdown or less, than anybody in the Big 12. Whereas Texas, I think, was in 5 or 6 of those games and ended up losing. If they won 2 of those games, I'd be surprised. Baylor, on the other hand, won the vast majority of their one-score games. I think that says a lot about the head coach and the mental toughness and culture at Baylor. What do you say?
I'll tell you exactly what I say, because I'm a law of averages person. And I say that if you did it in 2021, I don't think it's going to happen in 2022. And I believe the same on a positive side for Texas. I cannot believe they can go through another ridiculous year, I call it, like they did in 2021 with the fine coach they have and Quinn Ewers coming on as the quarterback. I think Texas will do much better, and Baylor may drop a game or 2 more than it lost last year, thinking they can't keep winning 1-point games.
Sure. Okay. He talked about Texas. Again, we will do a special edition of the Broad Podcaster Thursday after Big 12 Media Days, where we hear from Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire, TCU head coach Sonny Dykes. Really looking forward to Sonny. You and I have met Sonny in the past because of our dear friend Spike Dykes. Sonny is Spike's son. And then we will hear from Steve Sarkisian, and we'll talk more about those 3 teams. Steve, of course, is the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. Do you have anything else before we close this one out today?
No, I think we've done pretty well. Media Day is always exciting. Jennifer and I have been to 4 or 5 of them in the past, and we were not able to go this time because I need so much help traveling, and she can't be expected to take care of me all the time. But anyway, it's a great time. I'm glad football season is almost upon us, and practice begins in just over a couple of weeks.
You bet. Okay, for Art Dlugach, I'm Jennifer Fierro, your broad podcaster here in the Highland Lakes. Again, for your Highland Lakes sports news, TexasChalkTalk.com, and please like, subscribe, and share the channel. And we look forward to seeing you here tomorrow on Thursday afternoon.